Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is D, back again with another movie review, and this movie review is for the 1994 John Woo directed action film Hard Target. Now, Hard Target is starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, and what this movie is about, Jean-Claude Van Damme plays a character by the name of Chance, who is a former military serviceman, a very kind of almost prototype 80s 90s loner, stoic but very dangerous, but a good guy, action hero type character. He's in New Orleans at the moment, kind of looking for work, kind of hanging out in a bar, minding his business. That very kind of typical stoic, heroic type character. And a lady comes to New Orleans in search of her father, who is her estranged father. She's looking for him, and she ends up running into Jean-Claude Van Damme. She runs into him because he actually comes to her rescue when she's attacked by some, thugs who are up to no good, kind of trying to harass her and whatnot. So he comes to her rescue, kicks a little ass and whatnot. And after a little bit of negotiations and just circumstance, she hires him to kind of be her guide around New Orleans and show her around as she tries to find out where her father is. And she ends up finding out her father has been living in New Orleans as a homeless man, and he ends up being murdered. And we see his murder in the beginning of the film. He's being hunted by a criminal organization that's led by Lance Henriksen. In this organization, what they do is they have clients that come to them and pay them money so that they get the opportunity to hunt human targets. And they typically try to find humans that have been served as, served in the military, maybe served in law enforcement, maybe they were firefighters, people that would seem to be challenging targets if you were going to try to hunt them down and kill them. These are the type of targets they try to find, and typically in this situation in New Orleans, they've been using homeless people as their targets. And so over the course of this lady hanging out with Chance, they do meet other people that are homeless themselves, and kind of understand the situation, the kind of social and economic situation that's going on in New Orleans, and the circumstances some of these, former military servicemen, veterans and whatnot are facing. She meets some characters and things like that. But she eventually finds out that her father has died, and then eventually finds out, after some investigation that's done by Chance, finds out that he's not just dead, he's actually been murdered. And they end up kind of figuring out what is going on. And in the end, Jean-Claude Van Damme has to do battle with Lance Henriksen and his criminal organization of basically human headhunters, essentially. And that's what this pretty much boils down to. The simplified description of this plot is man goes to battle with criminal organization that hunts human beings for sport. That's the simplified explanation of the plot. Now, what I liked about this movie, well, first off, this is a movie, like I said, I've seen this movie before, but it was a long time ago, well over a decade since I had seen this movie. And what motivated me to go ahead and give this movie a rewatch was, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this before I started out, but Con Air did a review for Con Air, and I couldn't really talk about a competition between Con Air and Hard Target, which one was better. I wanted to do a comparison, but I knew I hadn't watched Hard Target in a long time, so I said, you know what, let me rewatch Hard Target and see what it's all about, or see if I remember what it's all about. So that's what motivated me to check it out. And what I thought about it, this was still an entertaining watch. John Woo, his style is pretty much just saturated this whole film. It's very much just lots of heavy slow-mo usage, sweeping, gliding camera movements, dual firearm wielding as he loves to do, and motorcycle action set pieces, and of course the doves. He loves to have his doves in there. So John Woo's fingerprints just all over this film. I'm not completely sure, but I feel like I remember this was supposed to be like his kind of might have been his first like American made film or something like that. I'm not entirely sure on that, but I feel like this was one of his first kind of introductions to mainstream American Hollywood. I know I talked about Face Off kind of being one of those films as well. Face Off came out 3 years later though, in 1997, but Face Off was one of those kind of films as well where John Woo was really kind of stretching his wings for the first time on such a grand scale in the West here, and I think Hard Target might have been the movie that was the beginning of all of that in terms of the Hollywood releases that he was doing. So, but don't quote me on that. But his style is just all over this movie. He really just kind of goes to town with it. It's kind of like I talked about Armageddon being like a movie where just Michael Bay just dumped his whole bag of tricks on the movie. And Michael Bay's style, what he likes to do, how he likes to shoot, and the type of cuts he likes to do was just very visible all over the film, almost to an obnoxious degree. Kind of a same thing here with John Woo and his style, except I wouldn't say it's obnoxious. It's very noticeable. It's very kind of like it's very obvious, but to me it works. It's stylish, and I enjoyed it. It still is kind of a unique looking movie because he's using slow-mo, but he doesn't actually use slow-mo in the same way that, say, Michael Bay uses slow-mo. It's a very it's different, and it still, even to this day, is a unique kind of looking mainstream action film, even in present day. So imagine back then. I remember back then Hard Target looked like, from a visual perspective, just as in terms of action movies, it kind of almost looked like it was next level in a way. Like it looked way like bigger and slicker than I think we kind of remember it in terms of the credit that we give it in retrospect for the kind of quality of just style that this action movie brought to the table. And Jean-Claude Van Damme, he's still in just great action movie shape in this film. Like, he's in great form still. This is still like his trajectory in terms of physicality kind of mirrored Arnold Schwarzenegger's in a way. I talked about how Eraser was the last film where Arnold Schwarzenegger looked like kind of like prime action ready Arnold Schwarzenegger. Hard Target was one of the last Jean-Claude Van Damme films where it was like, okay, this is prime, dependable, action ready. He's going to be able to do everything he's always been able to do on screen. That kind of Jean-Claude Van Damme before, it started getting to the point where he was noticeably older and all of those type of things. And there was, I fell off with the Jean-Claude Van Damme film. There was a period in time where I was, Kickboxer, Bloodsport, Double Impact, Lionheart, all of those type of films. There was a time when I was catching those movies. I was watching a lot of Jean-Claude Van Damme, particularly because there was a time where I was really into fighting movies, martial arts films, just action films in general. I was really into those. That was my preferred genre at one point in time. But at a certain point in time, I fell off with the Jean-Claude Van Damme films. He was still working, but I stopped kind of watching and checking for the movies. I know he had like a movie In Hell, and that movie The Quest, and he just kept he still, I think even still to this day, he still does those like kind of low budget kind of films and things like that. He still works, I believe. There was a noticeable drop off in terms of just the kind of quality and the entertainment value of the movies that he was doing. But he definitely had a run where I'm like, people need to kind of, as they say, put respect on his name. A little bit more respect needs to be put on Jean-Claude Van Damme's action career, because he did produce some good stuff. His prime was very underrated as a very powerful, effective physical action performer on screen. A very good mix and at the time unique mix of muscularity and physical strength mixed with flexibility and agility. It was the closest you were going to ever get to seeing an Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone muscular physique type character, but doing Chuck Norris, Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Billy Blanks type athletic kicks and agility and jumping kicks, the splits, those spinning roundhouse kicks, all of those pretty maneuvers, for lack of a better term, the pretty martial arts moves, to counteract the kind of muscular power that you would get from, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone style action films. To me, Jean-Claude Van Damme was the bridge, the fusion of those two sides of the action movie world, and I don't think he really gets enough credit for that. I think he was a very strong, regardless of, because there's some discrepancies about how good an actual fighter he was in real life, and I've heard a lot about him losing fights and things like that. So I'm not really talking about his real world fighting prowess. I don't know about that, but in terms of on-screen presence, physicality, and an action movie performer, Jean-Claude Van Damme, truth be told, is one of the best that's ever done it in that regard. And that's on full display here in this film. He looks great in this movie. Also, just, obviously, I guess it goes without saying because John Woo and Jean-Claude Van Damme are involved, but the movie does have some great action. There's some great setups, some great set pieces, and just great general moments of action in this movie. This is an action film through and through, no doubt about it. Also, the villains in this film, I like the villains in this movie. Lance Henriksen, who, in this movie, he kind of reminds me of, he looks like I guess he's kind of always looked like an evil James Woods, but then I thought about it, and James Woods looks like an evil James Woods, so, there is that, but he does a great job chewing scenery in this movie. He's every bit the kind of the villainous character that he's trying to be in this film. He does a great job with that, and his right-hand man, I can't think of the actor's name that plays this guy, but I've seen him in other movies. I'll probably put the name up when I do the editing to give him his credit, but he's right there with Lance Henriksen in terms of his effectiveness as a scenery chewing villain. Just both of these guys are relishing in their villainy and their just evil nature, just very classic 90s villain stuff, and it's enjoyable here. It's kind of funny in moments because of its very just it's the nature of it. It's 90s action, so you kind of know what I'm talking about, but they both they do a good job. I liked the villains in this movie. Now, in terms of, negatives for this movie, there are moments where the style over substance hinders the film. It's a detriment to the film, because there are moments of, where there's some plausibility issues, believability issues in terms of would that really happen if you did that, like just in terms of just, the defying physics type things possibly happening and all those type of things. But it's also like you're not really supposed to be kind of thinking too deeply into some of those things anyways. This is an action movie through and through. There is a kind of a turn your brain off nature to it. This is not meant to be like this intricate I don't mean this as an insult to the makers of the movie, but it's not meant to be a smart film. You know what I mean? And so that you could see in spots that could be one of the negatives. But even things like acting, I'm not even about to say anything about the acting in terms of, you know, it wasn't noticeably bad or anything where it took away from the film, but it is very much a 90s Jean-Claude Van Damme movie in terms of his acting is what it is. I don't think he necessarily gave a bad performance, but it's also like, you know, for some folks, Jean-Claude Van Damme might be a performer or an actor that you're not really able to take him serious in terms of roles, but I had no issue with his acting in this film, and everybody else's acting was fine enough. Nobody messed up the movie due to acting, and nobody's really watching this movie for Oscar level acting performances anyways. This is just a straight up action movie. The plot is very simple, and the plot is the whole point of the plot. It's tailor made to just increase the amount of opportunities there will be for action to happen. Because like I said, the very simplified description of the plot is man who knows martial arts and is an expert in, you know, weapons and tactics, takes on a criminal organization that hunts humans for sport. Like, it's very simplified plot description, and basically you just everything is set up so that one guy fights a whole bunch of other guys, and that's what the movie in general is about. So, you know, it's nothing too intricate or anything like that. But overall, my thoughts about this movie, like I said, I enjoyed this. This is an entertaining action film. There was some nostalgia vibes for me just because, like I said, it'd been well over a decade since I watched this movie, and it had been a while in general since I had fully watched a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, and at one point I was really into his movie. So there was some nostalgic energy rewatching this movie, and I do feel Hard Target is kind of one of those overlooked or forgotten Jean-Claude Van Damme films that I think he deserves a lot more credit for, and I think the movie itself, just as a production, deserves a lot more credit. I don't really hear people refer back to this movie too often, and I think John Woo and Jean-Claude Van Damme actually made a really good pairing. I think their styles fit very well together. John Woo's storytelling style and John Woo's just shooting style, his style of cinematography and editing and whatnot, I think that fits very well with Van Damme's physical style, the kind of the wide swooping kicks and how John Woo likes to do slow-mo, which meshes very well with the very theatrical, athletic, dynamic, physical fighting style, at least, you know, on screen, of Jean-Claude Van Damme. Just their styles, in my opinion, worked really well together, and it was a duo that, you know, in a perfect world we would have got to see them work together more, and, you know, work together at a time where both of them are in their primes. I feel like Hard Target was pretty much the closest we were going to ever get timeline wise to them both being at the top of their game, because John Woo was really in his bag and Jean-Claude Van Damme was still physically that dude. He hadn't started to go downhill yet at that point in 1994. So it would have been nice to see these two get to work together more often, you know, at the peak of their powers, because I do think they fit very well together. But yeah, that's the review right there. Hard Target, I definitely recommend it for fans of 90s action. Obviously, if you're a fan of John Woo and his style of doing things, and of course, if you're a big-time Jean-Claude Van Damme film, this is one of his better films. This is one of his stronger films. Me personally, my favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme movie typically is a Double Impact. That's a movie that I've been fond of ever since I was a kid. I know people, love Bloodsport. I like Bloodsport a lot, actually, and Kickboxer, of course. Those are great. Lionheart is always just kind of a fun little watch, because I remember countless times watching that movie on TNT, and my mom was real big into the martial arts films back in the day, so sometimes she would watch those movies with me. And so it's interesting thinking about that, because now the movies I watch now, I can't watch none of those with my mom. But some of those martial arts movies, because she liked martial arts, she would watch some Jean-Claude Van Damme stuff. So I like some of that old school 90s action stuff. If you're into that, Hard Target, you cannot go wrong with this watch. So that is it, you guys. Thank you for watching, and as always, until the next time, I will catch you on the next go round.